In all his heinous villainy, he reached by Miss Elizabeth and snatched my sign out of my 11-year-old hands. He proceeded to hold my sign up for all those around to see, so that the message would sink in. As more people saw what my sign said, they began to cheer. They agreed with me, this crowd. They were clearly on my side of this conversation. We all agreed that the Macho Man Randy Savage was no kind of man at all. And Randy snapped. He proceeded to rip that handwritten, hand-colored, put all of myself possible into this sign apart. Randy Savage tore that sign to pieces with such ferocity that Hulk Hogan's t-shirts were jealous. I couldn't wait for Tito Santana to beat that nefarious bastard. It was, to my memory, a slobber knocker of a match, a classic back-and-forth contest of wills, chain wrestling, counters, strategy. I was mesmerized seeing this live and in person. The pain or triumph pouring off of these two giants was palpable. It was about halfway through the match, when Tito had things well in hand, and all of us firmly on his side, that something strange happened. I looked at Miss Elizabeth. I watched her. I could see the pain she felt when Randy Savage was in trouble. I watched this demure flower lose her cool and pound the ring mat with such vigor that the sound of that pound rose above all other noise. In the same moment, Macho Man and I became empowered by this woman, where just seconds before I was booing Randy Savage, I felt myself turn. I felt myself begin to see things from a different point of view. Sure, Macho Man Randy Savage was cocky, but he had every right to be. A beautiful woman on his arm, and she had his back. A body the Greek gods would be envious of. Most importantly, I saw an intensity, a desire to win that I hadn't noticed before. Here was a man in Randy Savage that definitely talked the talk, but he also, as Tito Santana was about to find out, could most definitely walk the walk, no matter what was thrown at him. Macho Man had turned the tide in the match, and Tito Santana was in trouble, laid out in the middle of the ring, clearly beaten. The madness of Randy Savage had been too much for him. Even the referee sensed the end was near for Tito and began to descend to the mat preparing for the inevitable pin, but Randy Savage had one more nail to put into Tito's coffin. He stalked to the corner and slowly made his way to the top rope. Macho Man moved with the grace and poise of the Amazing Spider-Man as he stood to his full height, extending his arms over his head as he pointed to the heavens. He waited the barest of moments before launching into the air. Again, time slowed as Randy Savage soared higher and higher. Somehow, he twisted his body in mid-flight so that he was parallel to his downed opponent. Succumbing to gravity's inevitable weight, yet still parallel to the mat, Savage flexed his arm, and from my vantage point, I could see his bicep and shoulder become rock. Macho Man came down across Tito's chest with a force and fury that shook the entire building. Randy grabbed one of Tito's legs, locking in the pin. The referee dropped into position and counted in unison to his slapping of the mat. 1, 2, 3. Macho Man Randy Savage leapt to his feet, and Miss Elizabeth ran into his arms, victorious. This story was submitted by Mike Taylor and read by me, host of The Work of Wrestling, Tim Cale. If you would like to hear the rest of this podcast, subscribe to Work of Wrestling on Apple Podcasts and download episode 36, Macho Madness. If you would like to submit your story to Work of Wrestling Podcast, go to workofwrestling.com and click on the link in the sidebar. Thank you for listening. Go out there and find yourself your moment of pop.